From the creators of the original cheat sheet rankings, this is the Fantasy Index Podcast. Brought to you by Fantasy Index, the original and best since 1987. Now your hosts, Luke Wilson and Colt Williams.
Hello again, everyone out there. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Fantasy Index Podcast. I got Colt with me. Colt's got Luke with him, and it's time. The green flag drops. The BS stops, folks. Okay, that's where we're at, I would say. On to Thursday Night Football. Shall we proceed, sir?
Let's get into it. Yeah, Thursday Night Football. Packers traveling to Detroit to play the Lions. 51.5 point over under here. Lions are favored by 3.5. Well, so that's basically a pick 'em, which with the way the Lions have been playing, I mean, they've been great. Yeah, they've been great. I mean, Goff, this team right here is just phenomenal. Lions have never been Super Bowl favorites ever in NFL history. They are the favorites right now. This one right here, you got Goff going against the Packers. Are you jumping into the well with Goff? I mean, you look at the pass game, the run game. You just always try to hope and fingers crossed that they're going to get more through the air than they are on the ground each and every single week. Because if it comes through the ground, which it tends to happen that way often because the running backs are good, right. You can't really. Goff is like a running back or quarterback 2 for me this week, like a middle one. It's a high over under, and I really like it. But the Packers defense also kind of scares me.
It really just depends if the Packers can keep pace with the Lions and in any way meaningfully inhibit their run game. That's hard to buy. I mean, look at the circumstances here. The Lions can wring the Packers out of division contention here with a win. They'll be effectively 3.5 games up on them. The Packers will no longer be able to catch them for the North. They'll have to potentially do it again in Week 18 against the Vikings if the Vikings keep coming. But whatever. I mean, I think most people would probably say the Packers are the bigger threat to the Lions right now when the games really matter in January than the Vikings are. So yeah, getting the Packers out of their rearview mirror for the division here would be huge. They're rolling. I mean, yeah, the Bears had the big comeback last week, and disaster was narrowly averted. Other than that, I mean, they've been boat racing teams. They've been dog walking them. So, and I mean, it was not that long ago, Week 9, they were up 24-3 on the Packers with 16 minutes left in that game. So in Green Bay, so they took it to this team recently. The Packers are going to show up, but are they going to be able to make the Lions deviate from what they want to do? Now, so all that is to say, is the pass line going to be there for the Lions when they don't throw if they don't have to? I have a tough time trusting it. I think Goff, like you said, is, you're kind of punting QB. You're settling for 14, 15 points maybe in 4-point passing touchdowns because he doesn't run, and there's just not going to be, there may not be a lot of need to air it out. But the fly in the ointment. Are you current on Jameer Gate, Colt?
Jameer Gate? No, I'm not.
The brouhaha.
Oh yes, when
so So for the uninitiated, Jahmyr Gibbs took a picture of one of his teammates in the practice facility or the meeting room or whatever, and doing some sort of dance.
No big problem there, right?
Yeah, it's a fine use of a young man's time. Behind the player that was doing the dance was the Lions team whiteboard with all of their pre-snap terminology, decoder ring up on the board. He posted that, and the picture, of course, got downloaded and has now been circulated around the internet a billion times. So Dan Campbell wasn't real thrilled when a reporter informed him of that live in the middle of a press conference. You could see his blood start to boil visibly when he was told that. He later played it off and made it sound like Gibbs is not going to face any sort of retribution. But we'll see. I mean, that was bad. that was real bad. The Lions are now going to there's no way the Packers are not going to try to use that to their advantage here. They're going to do whatever they can. The Lions are going to have to change up some of their terminology at the line. That could lead to some miscommunications and some misfires for them. And I mean, it wouldn't be unheard of for Gibbs to miss a couple series here as a little bit of a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
So bear that in mind.
What if this photo was actually just a a Trojan horse. We want you to hear all these calls, right? Highly doubt it. But yeah, I mean, this photo is circulated everywhere. It's made it on social media, and it's definitely made it into Green Bay. I'm sure everybody there has been decoding and deciphering all this, going back, listening to hot mics. They've been working overtime, certainly, for this game, to try to get any kind of advantage if you can. It's not cheating. I mean, they threw it up, and it's, they're doing the best they can with what they got. So, yeah, I mean.
This isn't like your Bill Belichick with binoculars in the bushes at Jets training camp. It's not like that.
Gotta do what you gotta do. Jordan Love. Jordan Love is a guy.
You gotta do what you gotta do to keep the 3-10 Jets in their place. Yeah.
Yeah. Jordan Love is a guy. I mean, I'd love to start him here.
Quick, just one more. The Packers have allowed 3 passing touchdowns since Halloween, so there's also that.
That's a little spooky. It's a month. That's a month. I mean, yeah. So yeah, maybe Jared Goff is a middling. You probably have other options.
You need a shootout. Can you predict a shootout here? If you can, great, go for it.
Right, and the shootout could come on the ground. That's the part that's always the gamble there. With Jared Goff, Jordan Love, I think he's definitely in play. The Lions are going to put up points whether it is the ground or the air, so they're going to have to put up points there. They're a very efficient team, so you may not get a ton of pass attempts, but you're hoping for a little bit extra yardage from Jordan Love. He's getting the touchdowns, but just as Jaden Reed last week, I think it was 3 receptions, 2 touchdowns. So, like, that stuff is kind of hard to gamble with there. But yeah, I'd say Love is probably a top 12 quarterback here this week. At running back, I mean, you got go ahead.
I will say Love is looking for his first top 12 finish at quarterback in fantasy since week 6. He should get it here. If he can't, that's a little concerning. I mean, everything kind of sets up game script wise, just situation wise. That should happen here. I know he's got no Romeo Doubs, but I mean, the offensive line is good. It is relatively healthy. The Lions have obviously no Aiden Hutchinson. They also lost one of their starting linebackers, Alex Anzalone, who's been kind of co-captain of the defense, to a broken forearm a couple weeks ago. So the defense is legitimately shorthanded. I believe the Lions have more players on IR than any other NFL team right now. So yeah, it's all there. I mean, Love should have everything he needs to go and give us a top 5 game. If he can't, okay, can we really trust him in crunch time in a couple weeks?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You want to get a little bit of confidence before going into the fantasy playoffs, and this is your last week to have that. I mean, the playoffs start next week.
He's got a rough remaining schedule too. It's not good.
It's not amazing. At running back, I mean, Gibbs, you're starting him. Despite anything else like that, David Montgomery, you're starting him, and even Josh Jacobs. This is not a great matchup for Josh Jacobs, but he's just been on fire. I mean, he's been phenomenal each and every single week. 21 points, 28, 19, like just finding the end zone, getting all of the work, whether it's the ground or the air.
He's the RB3 since week 5, and a lot of that time, Emmanuel Wilson was coming on the field in the red zone. He had a red zone role for a portion of that time. Jacobs has pretty much put him away. Yeah, he's been fantastic. He's off their injury report. I mean, Is he going to have to earn it? Yes, but he got 13 for, I think, 95 on the ground against the Lions first time around. So, yeah, he's an RB1.
Yeah, no, he certainly is. At wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're starting him. This one's a pretty easy one. Jameson Williams, is he more of the dart throw? He's a more reliable dart throw than MVS or, NWI, I would say, right?
I'm going to read the numbers for 2 wide receivers to you real quick, Cole.
Okay.
Wide receiver 1 has 55 targets this season, 34 receptions, 630 yards. That's 18.5 per catch, 4 touchdowns. So that's wide receiver 1. Wide receiver 2 has, hold please.
Gotcha.
55 targets for 35 receptions, 574 yards, so 16.4 per catch and 5 touchdowns. Which one of those is Jameson Williams and which one of those is Rashad Bateman?
I'm going to say the 5 touchdowns is Jameson.
That's Bateman. But point being,
yeah,
it's the same picture. It's the same picture meme, The Office. Jameson Williams is fancy Rashad Bateman. I mean, he has been. He's not been. Is that a guy that you can really count on if you're in any sort of win and in situation this week or in the playoffs? with Sam Laporta potentially getting reintegrated into the offense. We don't know. So he scares me. And the Packers, again, the secondary has been no slouch. So and are they going to even throw the ball? He's kind of Bateman and Xavier Worthy type territory, and that scares me.
Yeah, no, it certainly does. A wide receiver on the other side, you're looking at the Packers, Jaden Reed, just as I mentioned, like it's a gamble with these guys each and every single week. He had three receptions on 6 targets. 6 targets is not great either, but 2 touchdowns. Like, that's kind of what you want. Christian Watson, kind of, invisible. Romeo Doubs is out already, so that's kind of good news. It boosts those guys up at least a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of Reed and then maybe Watson. I mean, 6 teams on bye. It depends on what your I saw one of my buddy's teams. He hadn't updated it just yet, and I looked at it earlier in the day today, and he still had all his team, like all his players still in there. He had like one person in his starting lineup that wasn't on bye. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so tragic. And he's a win and get in. So I pray for that man. It's going to be really tough. But yeah, Jaden Reed, he's in play. You're hoping for a shootout, and you're hoping it goes his way. Christian Watson, I guess you could look his way as well if you really need to. And then I'm kind of checking out. I'm not looking at Wicks. I'm not looking at Bo Melton or anything like that. Sam Laporta.
Malik Heath? No, Packers wide receiver? No?
Not going that far. Sam Laporta, you could start him. He got 2 touchdowns last week, and it was funny because that's exactly what we said. We were like, it wouldn't surprise me if he has a 2-touchdown game somewhere here. I certainly did not expect it to happen there on Thanksgiving, but his role in the offense, I think that was Jared Goff's only 2 touchdowns too. So yeah,
had to have been, yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Tucker Kraft, can you start him here? I mean, 7 targets last week, 6 for 78.
I mean, it's all relative. Like, what are you going to get off the waiver wire or off your bench? In all likelihood, that's any better.
Yeah.
I don't love it. Even without Anzalone, Kmet didn't do much last week. I think he had 3 catches for like 40 yards. It was more the DJ Moore and Keenan Allen show, to be fair. So there was that. But yeah, it's middling. I think Kraft had like 5 or 6 catches for 50 or 60 yards against the Lions first time around, no touchdown. You'd probably take that here. I would. So, I mean, yeah.
I'd start him over maybe like a Juwan Johnson or something like that. I like Juwan Johnson, but I think that's more of a stash and kind of wait and see if he has a better role. But yeah, Kraft in a shootout, yeah, I think you could do that. As we mentioned, it's going to be a shootout. That's what everybody's guessing, and Vegas as well. So yeah, I'm not starting any of the defenses here. Shall we move on to Sunday?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's saddle up.
Panthers traveling to Philadelphia to play the Eagles, 46-point over-under. The Eagles, -12. They are heavy favorites here. And Bryce Young, he's determined to say, hey, no, let's keep this very close because, I mean, he's taken every team to the wire. I think it was the Bucs just last week, brought them to overtime. It took 59 and a half minutes for the Chiefs to kind of put the Panthers away. So, yeah, Bryce Young's going to try his best. Are you starting him? Absolutely not. But,
yeah.
We're not starting Bryce Young in week 14 going into the fantasy playoffs.
In normal non-psychopath leagues, yeah. I mean, are the Panthers playing much better ball? Absolutely. Yeah. Can you trust them against the Eagles, which is maybe the hottest defense in the league? No, you cannot.
Yeah, you certainly can't. Jalen Hurts, you're obviously always starting him. Saquon Barkley, the other running back, basically, on the team.
Yeah, I'd probably start Barkley.
Yeah, you might want to start him. He's on record pace. Where there's a big question mark, I think, is Chuba Hubbard. He had a down game last week against Tampa. It doesn't, it's not getting any easier here against the Eagles, and Jonathan Brooks is getting more and more introduced into the office, the offense. But it's only 2 weeks, so he's a running back. What for you? Running back 2, low end, high end.
Hubbard?
Yeah, looking at Chuba Hubbard. Yeah.
I'm not gonna cut and run on Hubbard just yet. Like, is Brooks gonna continue to phase in? Yeah, sure. The Panthers are playing for pride. They're playing for respectability. Canales is trying to prove that, hey, I have a plan here. This can work. Just stay the heck out of my way, David Tepper, owner of the Panthers. For them to hang in this game, they have to keep the Eagles offense off the field. It's that simple. Hubbard is the best way to do that. He can chew up tough yards way more than we think the Panthers even want Jonathan Brooks to do that kind of thing. So Hubbard's been great. He's been, kind of I'm not gonna say league winner, but a league solid assister, a league big time helper for what he cost in drafts. They just paid him. I mean, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. So, and the Panthers offensive line is even pretty good. It's been a lot better lately. Mm-hmm. I'd start him. I think he'll get a touchdown.
I want a quick heat check. So everybody picked up Isaac Guerendo. Would you start Isaac Guerendo or Chuba Hubbard? Who is
Isaac Guerendo?
Isaac Guerendo, yeah. Okay. So you're really high on Isaac Guerendo, which I am as well. That puts Hubbard, is probably a low end running back too in this matchup for me. And you're just hoping he kind of breaks one, maybe.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna walk that back. I would start Hubbard over Guerendo in most leagues. Kind of regardless of circumstance. Hubbard's role is safe. Guerendo, let's not presume to know what Kyle Shanahan's mind is. This guy lies to us all the time. So
it's very true.
I believe, like anybody knows, Guerendo's going to get 15 touches. If he goes out there and gets 6 carries for 29 yards, will you have a right to be surprised? I think you will not.
You won't.
Hubbard is safer. I would go Hubbard. I'd start either one, but
yeah, hopefully you could. Yeah, if you could start both, that'd be ideal. But I think I would go Guerendo, but that's probably me just being optimistic and shooting for the stars. But I don't blame you either way. We definitely
just cannot get respect on his name.
He can't, and he hasn't all season. It seems like, and Brooks is trying to keep the man down. So that's just kind of how it goes. AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, he's practicing, so he's going to play. Both those guys should be in your lineup. You mentioned it, Adam Thielen, waiver wire wonder. A lot of people were picking him up here this last week. I think he's certainly playable. You could throw him in there. He's getting a ton of volume. Should have had 2 touchdowns. Did have one. And I mean he's clearly the lead receiver here on the team.
AJ Brown has one top 15 finish since week 7.
You don't bench AJ Brown.
No, I mean, not saying you're sitting him, but I realized I had not checked his numbers in a while. He's been fine. I mean, 5 for 109, 6 for 109. He has not found the end zone. He's got 1 touchdown since getting in the end zone on the Giants in week 7. He's got 4 for the year. That's just surprising. You're starting AJ Brown, but you could spin that either way. He's due, right? I mean, he's due for 120 and 2 here.
Yeah. I mean, it's really tough with those guys where wide receiver, it seems so inconsistent. While they're good and star players, we know that they're also getting the best coverage that the defense has to offer them. So it's kind of hit or miss like that.
The Eagles know where they're going. Are they really trying to stat pad for AJ Brown versus make sure he's at full health and the league is not hip to all the wrinkles of their offense when January rolls around? A little bit like the Chiefs. The Chiefs are playing from a closed playbook, so there's that. But anyway, you're starting AJ Brown. Moving on.
Are you starting Dallas Goedert at all?
I can't, man.
Me either.
I just can't. I can't. I'm going to let somebody else burn me. Is somebody else going to burn me? Absolutely. Kate Otten is going to give you probably 9 yards if you start him over Goddard. That's just the way it works. But I'm going to let Kate Otten. Kate Otten has earned the right to burn me. Goddard, I'm sorry. It's been too many times around the mulberry bush here. I'm done.
And despite Bryce Young playing better here recently in his whatever it was 3 or 4 games here recently, you can start the Eagles defense. Of course, I think this is one of the juiciest matchups that you can get. Let's move on to another matchup. Let's go Jets traveling to Miami, face the Dolphins, 45.5 point over under. Dolphins are favored by 6.5. This one here, I mean, you're benching Rodgers. You shouldn't be starting him. He's been downright awful. Did you see he has like a Netflix thing coming out or some?
Okay, so I got some people mad at me recently because I said coming out of the Jets bye, there's no way Rodgers is going to play another game for the Jets. It would make no sense. I did not know. I did not have all the information. I am not hip to the Netflix broadcast release schedule. I'll admit it, Colt. I don't keep current on that. I'm a believer that external factors, monetary factors, play a bigger role in personnel decisions than ever before in the NFL. I think the Jets did not want to bench him before this Netflix thing came out. I believe that, Colt.
Yeah.
Am I tinfoil hatting it? Probably.
You always are.
It's
You always are. You've got that thing strapped onto your head. but
wow.
There are times where things do get through and they make it out, like things that have come to fruition throughout that. So no, I believe that you might actually be onto something there.
It's a lost season. The Jets stink. Everyone knows it. They fired everybody. It's fugazi anyway. There's a Yiddish word for it. A shanda. It's all nonsense for the Jets. Why add on to it by benching Rodgers before the little Netflix documentary about him can come out, when you can just let him play 2 or 3 more weeks and then bench him?
Yeah.
So, or whatever, release him in the offseason, let him finish out the season. Anyway, I didn't know about that, basically is what I'm saying. So yeah, now maybe Rodgers will play out the season. I don't know. But yeah, don't watch that Netflix thing. Let us watch it for you and tell you how bad it is. But yeah, you can't start Rodgers. The Jets, the Seahawks tried to give them that game, and the Jets gave it back. The Jets said, no, you don't. We're not going to win this game. Here you go, 99-yard interception return for one of your defensive linemen who used to play for us, Seattle.
Yeah, the narratives. I love revenge game narratives.
I thought Geno was going to blow him up. It was Geno's first time playing the Jets since he was a Jet. I thought he was going to, but I mean, the Jets defense is still pretty talented, so that didn't happen.
Yeah, Geno has been not great.
Not great. He played the Cardinals, who've been playing teams tough as nails on defense. Yeah. The Jets obviously have tons of talent on that side of the ball. How good has Tua been?
25 points per game over these last 3 weeks. 9 touchdowns in those 3 in total in those 3 games. Like, he's been phenomenal. I mean, we talked about him last week. I think you were a little hesitant. I was like, well, it's 2 back-to-back games, and so I understand where you're coming from. But now we've got 3, and this is a good sample size. Like, this is exactly kind of what we want to see going into our fantasy playoffs. I'll have to double-check his schedule, but it's been great.
I will say the Dolphins were down like 29-11, 29-8, 29-11, something like that, going into the end of the third or the fourth quarter against the Packers, and then Tua stat padded, as the youths like to say. But whatever, it all counts. Yeah. And the Packers defense is good, and the Dolphins almost got back in that game. They certainly tried. So yeah, I'm back in on Tua. I mean, it's not the 2022 Dolphins at the height of their powers that we knew and loved, but it's coming back online, a Jonnu Smith centric version. So and Devon Achane, of course. So yeah, Tua, sure, hit it.
Yeah, and Achane, just as you mentioned, you're starting him. Breece Hall, not practicing, not been amazing, but I mean, you're still starting him. He's not practicing, but the coaching staff is optimistic about that. So
Dolphins are putting against the run too.
Yeah, still hold on to your Braylon Allen shares. You haven't quite got to cash them in, but that's why you still hold on to them. At wide receiver, I mean, the Jets wide receivers, they've been getting a ton of targets, and it has basically amounted to nothing unless you find the end zone. Like Adams last week, he found the end zone, and you were pretty happy then. But outside of that, I mean, Garrett Wilson looks like Garrett Wilson earlier in the season before he had a big stretch in the middle where he was like the wide receiver, I don't know, top 5. And now it's just not been great. So
who is helping their receivers less in fantasy? I don't care about interceptions. I don't care about Jameis Winston is helping his receivers in fantasy. Okay. Yeah. Is he helping the Browns win games? Clearly not. But who's helping the receivers in fantasy less? Aaron Rodgers or Cooper Rush?
Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Cooper Rush is somebody. Yeah. He's been great.
I would say Rush is helping a little bit less, but it is close.
Yeah.
And just the fact that we're even having to go to Cooper Rush to get a fix on what Rodgers is doing I mean, it's so bad. Again, if he wasn't Aaron Rodgers, he would have been benched forever ago. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's just the state of football in New York between the Jets and Giants is just, I mean, it's been bad for so long. The fact that it's worse than ever right now is really astonishing that they could achieve that as a city. A round of applause for our football fans in New York. Your teams have sunk to a new level. That's a Cowboys fan saying that. So that's gotta hurt. All right.
Yeah,
I'm not a Cowboys fan. I was born into Cowboys fandom. I have forsaken them until Jerry is gone. All right. Anyway, on to On to the Dolphins wide receivers, or are we still talking about the Jets wide receivers?
Yeah, I
You
mean,
go, Colt.
the Jets wide receivers, you can still start them. They're just low end wide receiver twos. Like again, you're kind of that's kind of what you're hoping for. The floor is low, and they're getting the target volume, so it's a little scary. But I mean, you're not really necessarily benching them for anybody else you got off of waivers.
I was so excited for Garrett Wilson when the Adams trade was announced, because I was like, are the Jets going to make a playoff push? I doubt it, but this should be huge for
Mhm.
Garrett, seeing that kind of one-on-one coverage from just nonstop bracketing and too high safety nonsense to that. I was excited, and his numbers did perk up initially.
Yeah.
But then the tent on the circus just completely caved in, and now here we are. So
Yeah.
great.
Tyreek Hill, you can start him. Jalen Waddle, he did exactly what he does. I mean, he did that big game after whatever it was, 10 weeks of duds, and then comes back down to earth, 4 for 53. Like that's not what you signed up for. That was on 4 targets too. So he's just simply not getting any targets, but always a threat to take it to the house. Jonnu Smith. That's a tight end you can start. He's going to be a top 5 tight end for you, and you check out. You're not starting any. You're not Tyler Conklin or anything like that. Like, no.
If you're Jonnu Smith's agent, how eager are you for the season to be over so you can talk about? Because he's technically signed through 2025. He ain't playing for no $5 million next year.
No.
Yeah, Jonnu has been a revelation. I mean, this is the. How real is this? How real does this feel to you? Because obviously the Dolphins, this was not their plan A.
Mm-hmm.
Having this much of the offense go through Jonnu was not the plan. Given how good he has been, is this now an actual facet of the Dolphins offense, or is this a means to an end until they can get reinforcements on the offensive line and get back to, the run and deep shot offense that they were running prior to this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's here to stay. It's just such a large sample of them playing. Even when Tua wasn't in there, like he was a focal point of the offense. Like you have to start Jonnu each and every single week, and he's just been phenomenal for you. Like, yeah, I don't think it's going away by any means. However, I will I'm a person who had Kyle Pitts in a league, and I was like, and this is a dynasty league, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna kind of set it and forget it, and then he had a pretty good stretch. I was like, cool. I had Jonnu Smith. I was like, man, I made the wrong decision again. Oh, I made the wrong start, again. And then Jonnu was just blowing up my bench, and then now I'm finally, fool me once, fool me twice. I'm putting Jonnu in and kind of locking him. But yeah, I mean, I have Goddard in that league. I have Pitts. Like, I need another tight end just in case for whatever reason Jonnu goes down or doesn't, they lose production. But yeah, until then, he's a lock, and he should be in everybody's lineup.
What's that? Is that a Pittsburgh Steelers shirt you got on there, Colt?
It's an Edinburgh.
Oh, different Berg. Gotcha.
Different Berg, yeah. The streets there are the size of my house, like how wide they are. Yeah, it's
like the streets in Salt Lake City. It's got to be wide enough for a certain size horse-drawn carriage.
Yeah, I guess so. The defense is here.
I'm rocking the Roosevelt Rough Riders baseball here. Roosevelt
Okay.
High School, Seattle, Washington. I know we got some Seattle listeners out there. Roosevelt, baby. Class of 05. All right, anyway, let's move on.
Class of 05.
05 so live.
That's how we go. Defenses, you probably have some better defenses to start here. You can start the Dolphins, I would say.
Sure.
Against the Jets, yeah, certainly. But it always just scares me. It's like the name value of Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Devontae Adams. Like, if you just put the stats up against it, then you'd be like, okay, cool, yeah, definitely start the Dolphins. But with the name, kind of scares me a little bit. But yeah, the Dolphins, I think you could definitely fire them up if you want to.
People who streamed the Seahawks last week were very happy with the results.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about this next one. We got Raiders traveling to Tampa Bay to face the Buccaneers, 45.5 point over under with the Bucks by 7. Ugh.
Yeah, I would have expected more out of Baker Mayfield against the Panthers team last week.
Yeah.
2 out of the 3 previous games, he's single-handedly lost to the week. We know he's playing at a high level, but yeah, the we don't care about how great you were on the field or how much you helped your team get the win. We care about the numbers. This is fantasy football, and all of a sudden the numbers are betraying us in our hour of need. So that's not great. I want to go back into the Flames with Baker, but I'm hesitant.
Yeah, no, certainly. He's a scary play. I mean, you're seeing Mike Evans have, games and be old Mike Evans, and that's exactly what you want. But yeah, it's a little scary. Yeah, and the Panthers, they've just been playing hard ball.
Yeah, side note, is it time to stop assuming layups with the Panthers? I mean, they played the Chiefs tough as nails. The Chiefs, fantasy-wise, did all right in that game overall.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they ground Baker Mayfield and the Bucs down to a nub, Mike Evans aside. And, of course, they got Daniel Jones fired out of New York, out of the city of New York finally a few weeks ago in Germany. Yeah, the Panthers are the Panthers are deep in their pest mode phase, for sure. But the thing is it's the Raiders, right? I mean, they're the worst team in the AFC, which is saying something when you're in the same conference as the Jags. And yeah, I mean, they're going to show up. It's the Pirate Bowl. It's the Raiders versus the Bucs. It's the rematch of the John Gruden, Tony Dungy Super Bowl. Or no, John Gruden, Bill Callahan. Yes. But I mean, the Raiders just they're bad. Is Antonio Pierce even going to be back? I mean, I think the locker room is kind of playing for him, trying to make a case for him to be back, but it just feels so hopeless. They're trapped in that division with Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, and Sean Payton. It's just Antonio Pierce. Like you don't got it, bud.
Let's kind of zap this game just a little bit. On the Raiders side, you're starting Brock Bowers, obviously. But Jacoby Myers, I think he's a solid wide receiver too for you. I mean, he's been
against Tampa,
tons of opportunities as well. Is there anybody else there? I mean, you talked about Sincere McCormick just a little bit, and for people who don't know, that is a second year, maybe third year running back for the Raiders. And yeah, does he have any investments in the spice, McCormick, or?
What's that?
That was a stretch. No, there's like McCormick Spices, like yeah.
I don't think he's a seasoning heir, an heir to a seasoning empire. He's a legend in El Paso, Texas. He had quite the 2-year run at UTEP, but I mean, is he even gonna be do anything in this game? No way to really know yet. It feels like this is a gut thing because Amir Abdullah was the starter last week and he was fine. He excused himself well. My gut is going off saying the Raiders have no reason not to let this guy be the running back for the rest of the season because Zamir White has shown less than nothing. Alexander Madison was a mercenary flyer who, turns out he's cooked. And Amir Abdullah's 30. Like he's just been floating around the NFL for a decade now doing third down back stuff. They have no reason not to see what Sincere McCormick can do with 14, 15, 16 carries. So if you're really shorthanded at running back, a lot of teams are going to be this week. McCormick, throw him out there. I mean, who was it? So, who went nuts on the Buccaneers defense last week? It wasn't Chuba.
Brooks looked good on the defense.
Right.
I mean, in his very, very limited role. Yeah, I mean, that would be the kind of.
It might have been the week before that the Buccaneers' run defense kind of cratered. Regardless, I think McCormick, just from a motivation standpoint, is intriguing because there's so little legitimate competition. Amir Abdullah is just a guy, and we know the Raiders want to run the ball so badly. That was the plan the whole time. They've been the worst run offense in the league, and that's why everything's gone so horribly for them on that side of the ball. I think it's going to be McCormick. I think he's got double-digit touches here. You could do a lot worse. You could do a lot worse. With the buys this week, you could do a lot worse.
I would grab him in a dynasty league. I'm not touching him with a 10-foot pole in 16 team or less.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I get the motivation. I understand. I see your narrative. But Raiders don't want a part of it. Guy that had absolutely no volume in the NFL, like just now getting his shot, it scares me.
I'm not saying it's not risky. It's plenty risky. It's maximum risky. It's the highest level of risk.
It's win-win for you. If he does nothing, then it's Sincere McCormick. That's exactly what we expected. Exactly. But if he does something, then yeah. But
and you look like a genius to your if Sincere McCormick comes out and puts 90 yards and 2 touchdowns out, and you started him this week, and it gets you in the fantasy playoffs, you're going to drink on that story for free for the next several years. So there's a financial component to starting Sincere McCormick in fantasy leagues this week.
There certainly is. At running back, I mean, let's go to the other side. Bucky Irving, he has been phenomenal, averaging over 20 opportunities a week. He's an absolute workhorse. He's taken over the role.
2.0.
Yeah, he's taken.
2.0.
He has, and this is a guy you wouldn't think would be getting all of the the first down work and all the rushing attempts, but because he's a smaller guy, he's 195, and they say it 10 times a game, a quarter. They say it all the time. They're oh, this guy, but he has juice. And if you saw him early in the season, you were just like, okay, well, this is limited opportunities. Like, we have to take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, even in all of these opportunities, he's been great. Rachaad White, I think you can still start him. Bucky Irving is a top 12 play for me here this week against the Raiders. But Rachaad White, I think you can still throw him out there. You're just kind of hoping for a touchdown. If you look at his numbers and you're just looking at the stat box, the box score, if he doesn't have a touchdown, his games would have been a lot worse. So, yeah, definitely taking the role over from him.
No, Bucky Irving, I mean, this could be the legacy game right here. He could have 150 yards. He could have a couple touchdowns. I mean, it's the Raiders. Mike Evans is there's some speculation around Mike Evans' health that we're going to touch on here in a second. But yeah, Bucky Irving, Kyren Williams, as I keep saying. When Kyren Williams happened last year, we didn't really necessarily know what to do with that information because Kyren Williams is not big, he is not strong, and he is not fast.
Yeah.
So the fact that he comes out and is, the best running back this side of Christian McCaffrey in fantasy football the last 6 weeks of the 2023 season, we didn't really know what the hell that meant. I would say Bucky Irving is two-factor authentication for us here. Bucky Irving comes in and tells us, no, this is the way it's going now. Running backs are getting smaller because defenses have gotten smaller and faster. Defenses are faster than ever. Straight line speed, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter. You could argue, though, it has never mattered less for running backs. No running back is going to take it 80 yards to the house anymore unless just, the entire defense got fooled, something crazy happened. Escapability between the tackles in the open field, when there's 6, 7, 8 defensive backs on the field, that is everything now. And guys like Bucky Irving, we're going to keep seeing them thrive in the current NFL landscape where everyone is sitting in cover 3 50-60% of the time. So yeah, anyway, moving on. Where are we at?
And just smaller backs like that and Devon Achane, like they just hide behind the line too. So not only are they good in space, but they're you don't see them for a few yards until they're past you, and then it's like you have to make split decisions.
Achane is awesome. I love Achane, but it's a whole other thing. He can hit the gas on you so fast, and he just obliterates angles. Like you can have the angle on him, and then in a second you don't. Bucky Irving, it's the classic, try to tackle him in a telephone booth. I mean, he's going to run around you 2 or 3 times before you even get a hand on him. So, I mean, we can't just dismiss guys who are 5'9" and run a 4.6 40 anymore out of the combine if they did it in college. That's the key.
Yeah.
McCormick, 5'9", ran a 4.6 40, did it in college. That's all I'm saying. Jeremy McNichols, similar guy.
Yeah.
All I'm saying.
Let's move on just a little bit. Mike Evans, you're starting him. Hopefully he's practicing. This was their first practice of the week. It's Wednesday, for us. So go ahead and just monitor that. Is this one of the later games? I don't remember if it is, but
at Bucks, it's probably early. They're on the East Coast.
It is an earlier game. So obviously you're starting him. Jacoby Myers, safe to say he's a solid wide receiver 2 with all the bye weeks, especially. And Brock Bowers, again, it's another one where you're just going to be starting him. Cade Otton, he failed to find the end zone or eclipse 35 yards here in the past 3 games. The guy who has probably got you to this point where you're either locked in the playoffs or you're right on the fringe. Like, last week was a great matchup. You really wanted to see more. This is another great matchup. You're starting him. Like, it's name value and what he's done. Like, this is kind of, I say name value with Cade Otton is something I never thought I'd say at the beginning of the season. But yeah, this is exactly where you want him. You want to start him. Brock Bowers is 12 games in, and he's 3 receptions away from breaking Sam Laporta's tight end record. Like, that is absolutely insane. He's 4th in yards in the entire league, is in receiving yards. Like, that's, man, rewriting the books.
I took Odunze I took Bowers over Rome Odunze in a couple of rookie drafts.
Very controversial.
A few months ago in non-tight end premium. So I got some, what the heck is this guy doing? Looks. That one worked out.
It certainly did.
You could even argue Bowers over Marvin Harrison Jr. in Dynasty right now.
And Neighbors. Yeah, I mean, you can make any argument you want, in my opinion, for Brock Bowers. I mean, tight ends do not grow on trees, and he is a tree, and he is a wide receiver, and he plays in the tight end spot. So, yeah, I mean, that's exactly where you want him. Aiden O'Connell.
He's got football moxie too. He's got real football instincts. I mean, he came in as a fully formed folk hero legend from college football, and he's living up to it.
And some guys just make it look easy on the field. Like, that's one thing I've learned, doing this, talking about fantasy football, scouting. Like, I've learned more that the safe option, like, I didn't like Chris Olave because he was a little bit too safe for me. Like, I wanted the upside with maybe like a Garrett Wilson or a Jameson Williams. He was a little too safe for me. Chris Olave was a pretty good wide receiver, once he got into the league. Lad McConkey, a little too safe for me. Like, I like what he does, but, this dude has like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 100-yard games this season. Like, Lad McConkey's been absolutely phenomenal for fantasy. And, yeah, I mean, is he getting banged up? Yeah, he's a little guy. But you just have to kind of adapt and learn and change as the NFL is changing. And it's ever-changing. So that's what makes this game so fun, in my opinion. But
absolutely. Yeah,
I mean, this one right here, we didn't even talk about Aiden O'Connell. But, yes, Aiden O'Connell is starting. And that just means you can fire up the Bucs defense as a streamable option.
I think O'Connell excused himself pretty well last week. Yeah. He was an improvement over what we last saw from Gardner Minshew before his collarbone got snapped like a wishbone. Yeah. So, is that saying much? No, but against the Bucs, he might hold his own. I mean, he should at least get Jacoby Myers eight receptions, which is all we really care, and Brock Bowers. But no, we saw Aiden O'Connell with no Brock Bowers. Now he's got Brock Bowers. Doesn't have Devontae, but he's got Jacoby Myers, and I mean, we'll see. We will see.
Yeah, he hasn't been a horrible quarterback. We're about to talk about a horrible quarterback. Falcons traveling to Minnesota to play the Vikings. 46.
Don't put that on.
46
Don't put that on our man. He's a fantasy. He's a fantasy hero.
I'm sorry. Vikings are 5-point favorites here at home. Kirk Cousins, he is the 35th in points per game at the quarterback position since week 10. 35th in points per game. There are 32 quarterbacks. It's bad. It's bad over there, man.
There are 32 quarterbacks.
It's so bad in Atlanta.
He has played some real defenses. He had to go to Denver, had the Chargers come to him and play them, tough as nails. But yeah, it's the Vikings. Now, a revenge game or not even revenge, homecoming game.
Yeah.
But yeah, against the Brian Flores defense, that's, yeah. Do the Falcons, if the Falcons get creamed in this game, if they come out and they lose 28 to whatever, 8.
Michael Penix?
Is it going to be time for them to talk about it? I mean, they're going to be the Buccaneers are going to win, and if they lose, they're officially no longer in control of their destiny in that division.
Yeah. I mean,
they've got 3 years and $135 million left to go with Cousins.
That was the first question Raheem Morris got after the game was, hey, everybody was laughing at us because, everybody was laughing at you guys because, you took Michael Penix Jr. at whatever, 8 overall or whatever. And now you have Kirk Cousins here. No touchdowns in the past 3 games, 6 picks, 4 fumbles in the last 3 games. Like, Achilles quarterbacks at this age is not look good for the 2 sample size that we have.
Good point. Excellent point. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it has not.
Not looked great for them. Sam Darnold on the other side, yeah, he's averaging over 20 points a game over the last 3 weeks. He's on fire. Much like Tua, again, once a guy's had a few games for me, and he has a positive matchup here, I'm firing him up. I have no problem with that. Bijan Robinson, Yep. Aaron Jones, bad week last week, but I mean, I'm not going to shy away from him. That's the Aaron Jones experience. He can lose you a week. He can win you a week. We've seen it on a number of occasions. We were hoping he would be a little bit more consistent. He has been this season, getting you, an average of like 8-10 points, and not really sinking down to the low single digits. But it's a gamble. What concerns me a little bit more: 3 consecutive games with a fumble. So that's a little bit scary, but.
True.
We got birthday narrative, if you care about that at all. His birthday was 2 days ago. He's returning to Georgia. That's his birthplace. He's born in Savannah. Like, this might be a little bit of a, might see an Aaron Jones game here. Not that you're benching him. 6 teams on bye, you're not benching Aaron Jones. But, yeah, that's just a little narrative if you're out there doing side bets maybe. Justin Jefferson, yeah. Drake London, despite Kirk Cousins being very, very bad at football, Drake London he's been serviceable for you. He's been a solid wide receiver 2 here this week yet again.
If Julia Cousins watches this podcast, you're gonna have some tersely worded emails to respond to in the morning, sir.
Yeah. Well, we don't have any Coles around here, so I don't think I'll be running into her or hearing about her on the podcast. Jordan Addison, he's a fine wide receiver 3 with a little bit of upside. Darnell Mooney. Personally, he's in that same boat for me. Darnell Mooney has an 8. Again, it's just been Drake London who has been able to survive the Kirk Cousin experience here recently. Kyle Pitts, absolutely not. He disappeared last game. He had 0 targets, 0 receptions.
So Kyle Pitts has had in 3 of his last 4 games 1 or 0 catches. Raheem Morris, when asked about it in a presser this week, came right out and said it. We got to get other guys involved. Kyle Pitts is not doing what we need him to be doing. So, yeah, he's going to see less snaps. He went down to 41% of the snaps against the Chargers. You cannot start Kyle Pitts in fantasy right now.
That's unacceptable. How do you put a guy who you drafted 8th overall, who has the rookie receiving record, who like, it's, I don't understand it. But again, if he's not performing,
you could argue he's never been good. You could. I mean, did he have the rookie receiving record for tight ends at the time? Bowers is going to obliterate that.
Yeah.
Yes, sure. Matt Ryan. I mean, Matt Ryan was just funneling targets to him nonstop. And even since the Matt Ryan era in Atlanta, the NFL has changed quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, Kyle Pitts just has never done anything other than fits and starts in 2021 to make us think he's good.
Yeah.
Is he a physical freak? Obviously, absolutely. Was he great in college? Sure. He hasn't been good enough. And I mean, if the team is taking the guy off the field, what else can you do? It's time to start Juwan Johnson over Kyle Pitts in fantasy this week, right now. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
If you start Kyle Pitts over Juwan Johnson and it costs you your matchup, that is your fault.
It really is. I mean, I wholeheartedly stand by that. I think that's where you're playing the matchup. You're playing the opportunity.
You know me, still the same old G, but I've been low key. Sticking with Kyle Pitts to the bitter end. You remember the water bet last year? I know, I remember it.
Yeah, you did.
I was with Kyle Pitts to the ragged end. I'm out. Okay, he has shown me multiple times this year he is not going to get over the hump at least anytime soon. Could he have like a 2028, second act in his career like Evan Ingram in Jacksonville when he goes to like the Raiders? Sure. Well, not the Raiders.
Yeah, not the Raiders. They're not letting go of Bowers. Yeah.
Sure, but I'm not waiting that long. So yeah, I would cut him. I would dump him off my roster. You laughed at me when I cut Christian McCaffrey. Who's laughing now?
Wow. You caused this, is what I'm hearing. You cut his knee, is what I'm hearing. No, you
absolutely did.
You made a very good, valid point, and it makes me want to go make a trade after this. Trading away Kyle Pitts for maybe somebody who will help me in my playoff endeavors this year, because I don't necessarily need the youth. I'm not really worrying about that. I want more championships. So, T.J. Hawkinson, yeah, start him. He's a little volatile, but at the tight end position, you want the ups. A lot of tight ends can give you the downs, so you'll kind of take that. Vikings, if I haven't talked about Kirk Cousins poorly enough so far. You start up your Vikings defense. I think this is a perfect time to do it. Yeah. Let's get on to a rematch here. We got the Browns traveling to Pittsburgh, face the Steelers, 42.5 point over under. Steelers by 6.5. Are we going to get more snow? Is this a snow bowl game? Have you checked the weather on that at all? Because I know originally the first matchup 2 weeks ago when we had this was the snow game. It was, okay, first quarter, everything's green and beautiful. Second quarter as well. Oh, third quarter, what's happening? I can't see anybody on the field. It's covered in white. So, yeah,
It is currently snowing in Pittsburgh right now. So there's that. But
yeah,
the forecast is low of 29, high of 48, no precipitation on Sunday currently. We'll see.
Not a weatherman, but I appreciate the report. Back to you. Yeah, I mean, this is one where I think you can start Russell Wilson. He just came off of the best game he's had as a Steeler, certainly his best game in a while. Jameis Winston. It's going to be hard to bench a guy who just threw 6 touchdowns and 500 yards. 6 touchdowns, 2 of those were to the opposing team. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to bench him. If you look at just the last time they played the Steelers, which was 2 weeks ago, it was a snow game. That's the game where I'm kind of throwing out as kind of fluky. After, besides that, 40 plus attempts in almost every single game, 50 some odd attempts here in this previous game. Like, I'm expecting 40 plus, and I think, even the matchup's not great. Pittsburgh Steelers, like, fire up that defense. Jameis is going to throw a pick 6. I have no doubt about it, but I don't know if you saw it. Did you see his interview?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
He said, Lord, save me from the pick 6.
Deliver me from the pick 6s. He was like, glory to the Lord, but I got to play better. Yeah, Jameis. Oh, buddy.
All-time interviews. He's definitely got a commentating, like Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't think he had a career in being an analyst afterwards, or a host or anything like that. But he had that one interview with, I forget whose chains and stuff he had on. Maybe just Sean Jackson's, when he had like all his chest hair hanging out. He had the black.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and he had the glasses on. The infamous Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's what got him the job. So Jameis Winston, if he wants to ride into the sunset and become, one of these talk show hosts, he can certainly do that if he wanted.
Absolutely. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Yeah, did he throw 3 interceptions, 2 of which went the other way for 6 points? Sure. Did he wind up costing the Browns the game in the end? Absolutely. He was the QB1 last week by a wide margin, and he didn't run at all. He ran for 11 yards. So it is strictly about the air ball, classic 2019 Tampa Bay era Jameis ball. And why not? Why not let Jameis cook? I mean, the Browns look like a real NFL team against the Broncos on Monday night. I thought they were going to get killed.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, if you go out with your boots on and Jameis throws 3 touchdowns and 3 picks, so you're the Browns.
Yeah.
Why not let Jerry Jeudy get some numbers? The fans can have some excitement, although this one's in Pittsburgh. But whatever, that's like 8 minutes from Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns fans can go there if they want. And I mean, what else do you have to lose? You got nothing else to lose. Go have some fun. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I like both quarterbacks. At running back, I don't like either one. You probably have to start Najee. He's coming off a good game, but historically he's bad against the Browns. I mean, 6 points, 4 points, 4 points, 13-11. Like,
I don't care about that. Jaleel McLaughlin just shredded him. Like the Cleveland Browns defense is not something that I'm worried about right now.
Yeah,
especially if they get into some sort of, I mean, they went into a punch for punch game with the Broncos. The Broncos of all teams, they can do that with the Steelers, who just did it with the Bengals. So,
And Nick Chubb, I mean, 3 touchdowns in the past 2 games. That's held him afloat. He's been very inefficient with his limited touches. I mean, it's been on the ground. He has got almost no receiving work. But Nick Chubb or Jaylen Warren in this matchup, like
Warren.
Yeah, Warren. I would go Warren for sure, and that's where you're looking.
Nick Chubb was out there for the first series against the Broncos, and then he disappeared until the second half. So you cannot trust the situation at all. Do not get deceived by the fact that, yes, Chubb has scored some touchdowns in the last couple weeks. He could give you 2 points against the Steelers. Real easy. Don't go down that way. If you can help it. If you've got like Guerendo, start Guerendo. If you've got Pacheco, start Pacheco. Start the guys who are on real teams. Sorry, Browns fans. In real situations.
Yeah. No, I agree there. Jerry Jeudy, I mean, I drafted him 5 years ago, and I held on to him and sold him earlier this offseason.
I drafted him 10 years ago.
Yeah. And 8 of his 12 games so far this season are in his top 20 receiving games in his career, his 5-year career. So, yeah, I mean, Jerry Jeudy, you got to start him. He's coming off, 265 or something like that?
I saw a tweet earlier. I can't remember the exact number, but I think it said 14% of Judy's career receiving yards are since Deshaun Watson went down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I believe it. Yeah.
Unbelievable. He can't keep doing this. You know, it's the Jesse Pinkman meme. He can't keep getting away with it. But yeah, I mean, obviously you're not sitting him. He's the wide receiver 1 by a lot.
Yeah.
If Cedric Tillman is cleared, that does eat in. I mean, Cedric Tillman's for real too. So obviously, if Cedric Tillman gets cleared for this game, forget about Elijah Moore. You dump him back to your bench or waiver wire. But that does take a little bit of the appeal out of Jerry Jeudy. And also, he's going to see some Joey Porter Jr., who is a holding machine. I mean, it doesn't help you if Jerry Jeudy gets a 40-yard defensive pass interference call. That we need fantasy scoring for DPI is what we really need. But until then, that doesn't help.
I've been thinking about how you would conjure that up for years and years. I'm like, I would have been me. I would have had that. So yeah, Jerry Jeudy
could have been a contender.
He's the wide receiver 2 in points per game since Jameis took over. You're not sitting him. It's been phenomenal, and that's a long stretch. You talked about
the wide receiver 1.
Is Tillman the wide receiver 1? Oh no, yeah, funny man. Tillman he's a DNP here on Wednesday with concussion. Elijah Moore limited with a shoulder. You're starting Jeudy regardless, but if either one of those guys is a go and the other one's out, like I'm cool with starting Moore if Tillman's out. I'm cool with starting Tillman probably regardless, but especially if Moore is out. All this funnels back to David Njoku, I think. 17 targets for David Njoku.
Like I was saying, I need a David Njoku t-shirt at this point. I need apparel.
Yeah.
I need a jersey. I need something.
Yeah, you could do it. Before we leave wide receivers, I think it's kind of George Pickens and check out on the Steelers side. I'm not chasing Calvin Austin or anything else like that.
I was going to ask you if you're a Calvin Austin truther. Okay.
Good
to know.
Truther, no. But he's looked decent on the field for an NFL player. Not necessarily for fantasy that I'm banking on. So
he's the kind of guy where I'm like, oh, of course Russell Wilson would trick us into thinking, do we need to worry about Calvin Austin?
Yeah.
No, don't chase it. Mike Williams reportedly going to see an increase in involvement going forward. So we'll see.
10% of the snaps incoming.
There we
go. Let's see it. Yeah, David Njoku, you're starting him. Pat Freiermuth, we talked about this last week where it's like the matchup was nice. The Bengals can't guard the tight end. And sure enough, he had his best game in months. Browns are kind of middle of the pack. I'm not chasing it. Usually when you chase these type of performances from tight ends, it doesn't bode well. So I'm not chasing it. You can feel free to throw him in there. He's in the I don't want to say Will Disley tier. We'll get to Will Disley. I like Will Disley, but yeah, not a great fan of this one. Steelers defense, I mean, if you're expecting Jameis Winston to throw a pick 6, which he's kind of infamous for doing, yeah, start them up. Yeah, definitely. They're top 5 play this week.
For sure. I mean, and most weeks.
Yeah. Going to New York, we got the Saints traveling to New York to face off against the Giants. 40.5 point over under here, one of the lower ones. Saints by 5 on the road. So yeah,
I think give me the over on that one. I'm gonna go ahead and say that.
I can see that. Yeah,
I want the over on that one for sure.
I can see that for sure. I'm not sure what the weather is in this one, but perhaps it's bogged down a little bit from a weather game. But this one here, it's kind of easy. I mean, lock the car shut with Drew Lock and Derek Carr in it because you don't want to start either one of these guys here in this game. Alvin Kamara, yeah, you're starting him. Tyron Tracy, perfect. He didn't fumble. Finally, it seems like I mean, the Saints have given up a ton of points to opposing running backs, so yeah, Tyron Tracy should be right back into your lineups.
I was at the Cowboys Thanksgiving game.
Yeah, how was that?
I saw Drew Lock in action. I don't remember Drew Lock running that much in Denver. I knew he was a plus athlete. Drew Lock missed 2 rushing touchdowns by a hair. I think he was in on the first one where they wound up reversing it and saying he was out of bounds at the one, and then he gets a rushing touchdown late to make things a little bit interesting in that game. Are you starting Drew Lock in one quarterback? No, you'd be an insane person. In Superflex, though, I'm starting him absolutely. I think he's going to give you 15 points. The Saints defense is solid, but I mean, there's no reason that Drew Lock is not going to get 1 or maybe even 2 touchdowns one way or the other against this defense. They're not like a shutdown unit, and he's got nothing. He's got nothing to lose. He's playing for his spot in the NFL diaspora of bum quarterbacks. So yeah, in sicko leagues, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a Drew Lock fan ever since I saw him singing Young Jeezy on the sidelines, lip syncing it. I'll forever be there with him. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he's doing his best Nick Westbrook-Akine impression, where last 3 games, 7 receptions, 4 touchdowns. Like, can you chase it? Feel free on your own expense and in your own lineups. I'm not down that bad right now that I need to be doing that, but
yeah. Here's the thing. Really stop and think about and look at this offense with Taysom Hill now gone. So they can't play any goofball rugby football anymore. That's done.
Yeah.
They got to go back to playing something like real football or whatever, modern football. They've got Alvin Kamara and that's it. Mm-hmm. That is it. So MVS has to see 5 targets a game. He has to. What are they going to do? They're going to give it to Jamal Williams 24 times a game. They have to do something when they possess the football on offense. And the Giants defense is bad. Dexter Lawrence out for the season now, their best player. They just sent him to IR. The Giants are rolling over with their belly to the sky more than any other team in the NFL right now. They're saying, we are done winning football games in 2024, period. They're like the Chargers at the end last year. So you could start MVS. Could it go horribly? Yes. Could he give you top 15 production? He could.
Oh, yeah.
He could.
Yeah, no, certainly.
I hate it, but he could.
Another guy where I'm not surprised if he has 2 touchdowns on 2 receptions for 100 yards. Like that who would not be a stat line that would surprise me in the slightest.
The Randy Moss meme.
Yeah. I was telling my wife about that. I was like, he's over there holding the 3 fingers on the bench. He's just like, oh, like
158.3 legend.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
His health has not been great. Randy Moss, if you're listening, stay up, bro. Stay up, bud.
Yeah. Prayers up for him. Somebody who would love to find the end zone, Malik Neighbors. He's been MIA from the end zone since week 3. He's getting a ton of targets, getting a ton of volume.
Sure.
But you're still starting.
Know it's coming.
You're still exactly. You're still starting him. The defense knows it's coming. But yeah, he's the only wide receiver you can start. Wan'Dale Robinson, that experiment's kind of over. I think he's probably droppable at this point. Pick up your insurance backs for that. Wan'Dale Robinson is the forefront picture for people you should be dropping for insurance running backs. Him, Tyler Lockett, players
Darius
like
Slayton, his buddy
Darius Slayton. Yeah. Good NFL wide receivers.
Yeah.
Not good for fantasy.
It's not happening right now. The Giants have checked out.
Yep. We've talked about Juwan Johnson a ton. Had a little stretch there last season in the playoffs. So we're fingers crossed. Taysom Hill out. Unfortunate for him, but maybe a bright point here for Johnson here going into our playoffs.
Not to belabor the point, but literally,
last man.
If MVS or Juwan Johnson don't do something fantasy relevant against the Giants, what does that even mean? What does Derek Carr's line look like if neither of them do anything? 80 passing yards? 60? I mean, there is no other path but that or Alvin Kamara catching like 16 balls. Is that possible? Sure, but is it more likely than Juwan Johnson having like a tight end 7 finish? No.
Right.
No. But yeah, Juwan Johnson, you gotta seriously consider it.
Yeah,
like I said, over Goddard all day.
Certainly. Would you start the Saints defense here?
I would go right at the Giants. I'm not. Yeah, the Saints could go into New York, blow the Giants out, and Brian Dabble could be dismissed Tuesday morning. That's absolutely Monday morning. It's absolutely possible. Absolutely possible. Yeah, I would stream the Saints.
Does Brian Dabble seem like a guy who acts like he's won 100 championships? Like, to me, when I watch him, I'm just like, this guy is sitting on some kind of high horse, acting as if he's won 10 Super Bowl appearance, been in the Super Bowl 10 years in a row, kind of thing.
You're saying he reminds you of Belichick on the sideline last year?
No,
a little bit.
No,
I mean, it'd be fair if you did, because he's like he's carrying himself kind of like, oh, I mean, obviously I have nothing to do with this. Which is
exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting.
I agree, but buddy, your boss probably doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't trust John Mara to see it the same way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think he's probably gone at the end of the season. That I really, really hate that. And I'm a Cowboys fan. I got no reason to root for the Giants. I am rooting for Dabble, because he never had a fair shot here. He was asked to come in and have some measure of success, some modicum of success with a broken team his first year. He did that, and his reward was the punishment of more of the same. They turned around and stuck him right back with Daniel Jones, when the whole point was, here, let me show you what I can do with Daniel Jones so you can let me have a real quarterback. And then the front office, or whatever, ownership, screwed him over. So he's probably going to get fired, and I think that's a shame. And I hope that he gets another job somewhere, because I think Dabble is very good.
It is a shame. He'll be in the NFL for years and years to come. But
I would love for him to come to Dallas and be the head coach. Get some revenge, Brian. Come on down.
Yeah,
come on down.
Yeah, I mean, talking about good coaches on the hot seat, look no further. Jags traveling to Tennessee to play the Titans. 40-point over-under. Titans by 3.5. Doug Peterson, I think I like him as a coach. This is not a good hand he has been dealt. This one here, very ugly.
Even more so than Dable. Like, Dable might escape, because everyone knows that, I mean, there's an excellent chance, or a decent chance, that in hindsight, it turns out that the Giants sitting Jones and then releasing him was them admitting this is not Dable's fault. That could come to pass. Doug Peterson is going to fall on the sword here. Somebody has to. They paid Trevor Lawrence. They tacitly said, like, no, we have the quarterback, so if we are bad, it's not the quarterback's fault. I don't think it is Trevor Lawrence's fault, but somebody's going to have to pay, and Doug Peterson is going to go. Is that also unfair? Yeah, probably. The offensive line has been a disaster. That's not his fault. That's Trent Baalke's job. And Trent Baalke's the general manager of the Jaguars. He's going to be gone too. I mean, he needs to be gone. He's terrible. But yeah, Peterson's probably going to be gone, which is a shame. I mean, he's very tight end friendly. That's for sure. He's presided over a couple of the most dominant fantasy seasons. Zach Ertz at his prime in Philadelphia, and then Evan Ingram. So, yeah, for tight end aficionados, it's not great.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
You're pounding the table here for Will Levis and just the upcoming schedule. Did you know that, every game that Will Levis has played with Westbrook-Akine here these last 4 weeks, they both have touchdowns in those same games. They've Wait, actually, I think I might have misspoke there. I'm pretty sure Westbrook he missed the first game of Will Levis coming back with a touchdown, because he had 2. It was the 2 in this last game that put him at 8 for 8.
Well, if Westbrook-Akine gets a touchdown, I should think Will Levis also has a touchdown.
That is basically the point that I was trying to get across.
Right.
Will Levis is a guy I think you could start in this matchup here. Jags, they're statistically the worst in almost every single category. I think you could fire him up.
What we have been seeing for the Titans, for Will Levis, since he came back from the AC joint sprain, because when he went down, I mean, obviously early on it was a joke. I mean, Will Levis was boneheading every single week. Every single week there was some immortal meme from something Will Levis did in that game that was just cartoonishly stupid, that went straight to Twitter, and everyone was sharing with their friends, like, it's the Will Levis week 3 meme. It just came out. Oh my God, this one's exactly.
Yeah.
Dolphins. So it's been a roller coaster ride for him. And then Mason Rudolph comes in and is better. I mean, Mason Rudolph was better than Will Levis had been at that point. Since Levis came back from the AC joint sprain, I would say he's been between good and very good in terms of his actual play. Now, we don't care so much about actual play. You could throw a terrible pass as long as it goes for an 80-yard touchdown. I don't care. This is fantasy football. But in real X's and O's football, he has been, I would say, just about as good as the Titans' bottom 2 offensive line and bottom 1 wide receiver core in the NFL. The Titans have the worst wide receivers in the NFL for my money. Worse than the Patriots, worse than anybody. He has been as good as his surrounds would allow for him to possibly be. He's made the right decisions. He has made quality throws. They've been dropped. Receivers not gotten to the spot on time. Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I think the Titans have their quarterback. And I think the Titans are realizing that, we have the guy. We have to fix every single thing else. They've got the Drake May problem. The Titans are Drake May. The Titans are the Drake May Patriots 1 year further down the timeline, which is bad. I mean, the Patriots got to fix it right now already. So for the Titans to be a year behind that, that's bad. But yeah, so anyway, I think he's going to continue to prove that down the stretch, and certainly he absolutely has to with this schedule. He's got the Jags twice, the Bengals, and the Colts. I mean, that's 3 of the 5 or 6 worst defenses for quarterbacks in fantasy. So yeah, if you're pressed in a deep league or certainly in Superflex, Will Levis all day.
Yeah, it's so juicy, for them. Mac Jones, you're not looking at him in any kind of. Yeah.
So I want to pick your brain because obviously you labored through the Mac Jones era in New England, and I want to get on the record here. Yeah, get it out, bust it out. Oh man, you were ready for me to ask. For those listening on the podcast, Colt just reached literally behind his chair and had a Mac Jones jersey hidden off camera, waiting for me to ask. I was putting it on. Oh no! Where's the paper bag that goes with that? Oh man, where's the lunch bag?
Yeah,
okay.
No.
So what say you, Colt? Is Mac Jones back? He's a Jacksonville native. He's in his home element here. Did your Pats pull the plug too soon? Do the Jaguars have their new franchise quarterback? But no, seriously, what was the fatal flaw in Mac Jones's game in New England? Or was there no fatal flaw and he was just set up to fail, kind of like a Sam Darnold in New York?
It was both. It was Bailey Zappi. People were pounding the table for him because what he did in college.
They were.
And, he breaks Joe Burrow's record. So people were pounding the table for him. Those same people were pounding the table for Danny Etling and and other bad Patriot quarterbacks that we've picked up over the years.
Where's Ryan Mallett? Never mind.
Yeah, but I mean, Mac Jones almost 4,000 yards in his rookie season. Can you name?
He was the best.
Yeah,
he was the best rookie quarterback in that season. Yeah,
he was. And again, just even since then, 2021, you haven't had any receivers. And Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, and by getting both those guys at the same time, kind of thing, and Devontae Parker at 30. Like, it's so many bad receiving options that have come through. But yeah, did we pull the plug a little bit too early? I really like what we have in Drake May, but
sure.
But really,
but that's kind of hindsight. Like, if you didn't have Drake May, that would change the narrative there quite a bit. Anyway, Mac Jones now potentially. I mean, I don't know. The Jags may just decide, you know what? We know what we have in Trevor Lawrence. Do we really want to expose him to another blow to the head? Let's let this Mac Jones kid play out the string for us. He could play himself into potentially, at least a starting quarterback battle somewhere, Las Vegas, so New York, in the summer next year, with a strong showing here. So, will he do that? Is the question.
Yeah, I mean, he plays obviously the Titans here, Jets, Raiders, Tennessee. Like, he could be playing a team that takes him over there in the future. So yeah, I mean, and not bad teams to be playing against to kind of put your resume out there. So yeah, I think that's what we have at Mac Jones. Running backs for the Jags: Travis Etienne, you're not dropping him. Unfortunately, and hopefully, you're not starting him. You can't do anything with them. Tony Pollard. I mean, was this the game where he had his first fumble of the season? I think.
I think so. And he disappeared, but he disappeared in the game script. Like,
yeah.
He went like 24. I think it was 24 carries the week before for 120 yards.
Yeah.
And then he just disappears because the Titans were down 28-0 in like no time at all. So he's still the guy. You know, I think against the Jags, high end RB2 for me. Why not?
Absolutely. Yeah. I tried to trade for him because I wanted to start him over Marvin Harrison Jr. In one of my leagues. I know it's a half PPR, but kind of some people could say a wash. But I just want solid production. I want to have guaranteed points, and I feel like there's never been a better week than this one right here for guaranteed points from Tony Pollard.
If I were the fantasy devil, and I offered you a fantasy deal with the devil, and I said to you, Colt Williams, in your league where it's you have to win to get into the playoffs, lose you're out, I can offer you the running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars that is going to get 15 plus touches this week, or I can give you the running back who will get 15 plus touches this week for the Raiders. Which one would you take?
Oh my goodness. If I knew, has Travis Etienne has he had 15 carries since? I mean, 13 carries last week, 12, 11. Like even those, that's more than I thought he was getting.
Fair.
Oh
no Jaguars running back has clocked a top 30 finish since week 7.
Yeah.
Since for 6 weeks, it's been that bad. No top 30 finishes between the two of them.
I'm gonna go Travis Etienne over Sincere McCormick. That's who we're assuming, but that is not what I wanted to hear.
Is Abdullah hurt?
Amir Abdullah? I
don't think he's hurt. I think
he is. I know the other guys are still not practicing. It's not been great. Yeah, he's not hurt. He's good.
Okay.
He's just 31.
He's just got that problem.
Yeah, the same problem we all got here.
He's got a mustache like Giovanni Bernard from the Bengals a few years ago.
I'm looking at it, and I know exactly the mustache you're talking about. Yeah, that was
the Mario.
Very bushy, mustache. Very, very bushy. At wide receiver, Brian Thomas Jr., you'd like to have Trevor Lawrence in there. Fortunately, he's not going to be back. So, yeah, low end.
Brian Thomas Jr. has been the best rookie wide receiver of 2024 so far. True or false?
False, but he's been better than. You could argue he's been better than Marv. Definitely, I don't think that's really up for debate. He started really hot, just like Malik Neighbors. And yeah, I would have to look at his targets, but I don't think he has anywhere close to as many targets as Malik Neighbors. Maybe even not Marvin Harrison Jr.
I don't strictly mean stats. I just meant caliber of play. But yeah, no, you're right. He is the wide receiver 12 on the season in half PPR, which that is blowing me away reading that right now. I did not know it was that high.
He started so hot. Yeah. Yeah, I mean he's been phenomenal. Yeah, I mean I think you've got to start him. Nick Westbrook-Akine, maybe that's a bigger question. Like, are you chasing it? Again, I think this is exactly when everybody starts him. And then it doesn't work. Like,
okay, so it's a similar argument to the one I just made, kind of reductively, overly simplistic, for the Saints with MVS and Juwan.
Yeah.
What does it mean for you to say that Nick Westbrook-Akine finally busts, which he absolutely could? I'm not saying it's out of the question. Comes out as one catch for 12 yards, no touchdowns. What does that even mean? Does that mean the Jags held the Titans to 3 points? How does it happen? Because Calvin Ridley's the one, but he's not the one by so much that he's going to come out and have 160 yards while Westbrook-Akine reads the phone book in the corner. That's not going to happen. They've shown us that's not going to happen. Calvin Ridley is not a real number one. He is a number 2 at absolute best. Talent-wise, I don't care what his contract is. I know he's getting $23 million this year, which is an absolute war crime. And Rand Carthon, the second-year GM for the Titans, is going to have a real closed-door meeting with ownership at the end of the season over that one because, God almighty.
You got to pay the Titan tax, where hey, you're coming to the Titans. Like that's the Jags used to have to pay that all the time. So yeah,
mark that up, son. Mark it up.
That's how they do it.
But Calvin Ridley's a criminal. You know that money's all on DraftKings already. Anyway,
he bet on himself.
It's just betting the over on his own props nonstop. Calvin Ridley, 169 air yards, over.
Yeah.
So anyway, Will Levis is going to throw. He's going to throw. Who is going to be on the other end of the football when he throws it? Calvin Ridley can't get every single target. He can get half of them. Sure, I'll give him 18 targets. There's 18 more to go around. So he's got 20 receptions in the last 8 weeks. That's nothing. 8 touchdowns with him. I mean, there's a real identifiable pattern role here, which is in the red zone. Teams are blitzing the Titans, and the Titans are daring them to, and it's working an astonishing amount of the time. So yeah, I say start him. God help me. I know it's risky. I know it could blow. It could leave you needing to borrow fingers from Jason Pierre-Paul. That's how bad it could blow both your hands off in fantasy this week. Okay,
no,
too soon. But regardless, you can't argue with 8 weeks of data. You can't. I'm sorry. Like what is he like 4th in the NFL in receiving touchdowns for wide receivers?
Oh
it's
yeah,
close.
He's got more than Marvin Harrison Jr. I know that.
Exactly. So
what are
we talking about?
Let me get a quick heat check because a lot of people picked him up here this week. Again, he's still very not highly rostered. NWI or Deebo Samuel versus Chicago. Deebo Samuel has been awful. If you haven't had him in any leagues or anything like that, you are strictly starting a name there.
That's tipping my hand for our Niners matchup later, but I'm going to say NWI. Literally, we've got a guy in the Fantasy Index Discord who 2 weeks ago asked that exact question.
Really?
And he's a Niners fan. And I told him to his face, buddy, if you start NWI over Deebo Samuel, you are a crazy person.
Yeah.
And he did it, and he was right.
Yeah.
I was wrong. So I'm not. We'll get to the Niners here in a second, but NWI.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. And that's it. It's scary. I'm curious of how they use. I'm going Deebo there, but again, I could be very. It's easy to pick Deebo, but I want to see how they use him in the run game. Like this could be a game where they use him a little bit more.
That is an excellent point.
Yeah,
that is an excellent point. We'll get to the Niners here in a second. But that is an excellent
point. Well, there's not much left here in the Jags Titans. I mean the Titans. We're not starting Chigakonkwo.
The Titans letting Jonnu Smith leave in free agency salted the earth for their tight ends for all time until they bring him back. There will be no fantasy relevant tight end out of Nashville until then. It's been decided.
Evan Ingram, fire him up. And Titans defense, I think you could fire him up too against Mac Jones, or just like a bad. The Titan, I think on the year technically they haven't been great.
I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah.
I don't. It's a little bit like it's like, wow, this crap defense. Well, the Titans aren't a crap defense, but they are not a big play defense. Yeah. They're tough on the run. It's overly reductive.
But they already had no run game. Yeah, so you're kind of right there. You good. I love having you here because then we just get to backpedal a little bit and talk about it just a little bit more. Let's go to the later slate of games there on Sunday. Seahawks traveling to Arizona to play the Cardinals. 45-point over-under. Cardinals favored by 3. We talked about Geno just a little bit earlier. He's not been great since coming out of the bye in Week 10. Failed to get over 15 points in that same time. Kyler has also been very cold. I'm still starting Kyler because he runs the ball, and that's kind of what you hope for, for fantasy quarterbacks. So still a top 10 lock, but I mean it's a gamble. He hasn't been great. So
yeah, he's not available as an option, so it's a false heat check here.
Yeah.
But hypothetically, if Bo Nix was playing against like a neutral opponent, would you start him or Kyler this week?
Probably Bo Nix. Yeah, I mean I have Kyler in a league and I have Justin Herbert. So sure. That's kind of where I'm looking. I have Sam Darnold. So the fact that I'm kind of looking other ways, Sam Darnold plays Atlanta. He's playing at home. It's not great. Not great for Kyler.
Seahawks can kind of put this division on ice if they go in there and take care of business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they certainly can. Big money man James Conner, 21 opportunities after getting paid. I mean, he's a top 15 running back. You're starting him. Kenneth Walker, his last fantasy performance over 13 points was in week 7. He is just, they've been putting Zach Charbonnet in at the goal line and stuff like that and haven't been getting him in. Yeah, I mean, it's not been great. You're starting him. Teams are on bye. It is worth noting that he picked up an ankle and a calf injury. So picked up multiple injuries at one time. So Zach Charbonnet, he's available in over 50% of leagues. Go grab him. Not only if you're the Zach, if you're the Walker manager, but yeah, just if you need running back or your opponent has them, or just so your opponent doesn't have them, grab him because he needs to be rostered in 100% of leagues at this point. And
yeah,
then
I had to drop him in a league. I'm going to have to circle back and scoop him back up.
Yeah. Rich Gannon, he said, hey, we're going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. a little bit more involved. And he didn't lie for once. Michael Scott, as a lot of people like to call him, when he was talking to Rondell Moore, like, psh, 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 boom, explosion, speed. He had a career high in 15 targets, 5 for 60 and a score. He's quietly, again, we talked about it, 7 touchdowns there on the season. You're hoping for another big game. I think he's probably a wide receiver 2 start here this week. And then on the other side of the ball, DK Metcalf dealing with a few injuries. I don't remember if it was you or not, but he I don't know if we talked about it, but he went down to injury, and it looked like he was going to be out for the season. It was just awful looking injury. Goes to the sideline, goes in the blue tent, and he comes back out, and then he's playing again. It's funny how sometimes that happens with NFL players, and what happens in that blue tent.
It's just they've got the tramadol, they've got the cortisone shot back there, and depending on how much they're paying you, you get the good stuff versus you just get told, nah, sorry, you're done for the day.
Yeah. No, that's how I think it goes. Yeah, so DK Metcalf, yeah, you're starting him, of course, if he's out there. And then JSN.
I think he said that like it was a hit to like a nerve, and
Probably.
it just knocked out all feeling in his foot for a second, and then, or longer than a second, which, yeah, oh my God, what, that's a thing?
Yeah.
But yeah, he says he's fine. I don't trust that he's like 100%. But, I mean, yeah, like I said, they're trying to put the Cardinals on ice, put the division away. He's going to go.
They are. JSN, start him up. Trey McBride, yeah, he's still looking for the end zone, but yeah, you're gonna start him, of course. I'm personally not starting any defense in this game. I don't really have confidence in either one. They've been a little scrappy, kind of on both sides of the ball. Moving on, if you're done with that game.
Oh yeah, no, let's roll to Bills Rams.
Yep, Bills Rams traveling to LA. 49-point over under. Bills favored by 4 on the road. And it's not just the offense for the Bills, but the defense too. Josh Allen, yeah, you're starting him, but Matthew Stafford, no turnovers over the past 3 weeks, 8 touchdowns in that same span. However, Buffalo, I mean, they're third against quarterbacks. They just held Brock Purdy to 2 points. That was a snow game. So, yeah, Brock Purdy, rather Matthew Stafford is somebody I'm not looking to, despite him being hot, I'm not trying to throw him out there. I think there's plenty of other options you can go with.
He saved his day at the end 2 weeks ago against the Eagles with a long touchdown to Kupp in garbage time. If not for that, it would have been a dud. So yeah, I'm not seeking out the Bills here. The Bills are for real. They just brought back longtime Bill Micah Hyde, not for any major on the field role. At least that's not the plan. But just as kind of like a boon to the locker room type move, and to pick his brain, because he's got so much knowledge of the defense historically. So, yeah, I mean, the Bills' defense is just not one to mess with here, I don't think. Stafford's just not playing at that kind of level.
Yeah, they're not. James Cook, Kyron Williams, firing both up. What is noteworthy here for them, Blake Corum, he saw 32% of the snaps there for the Rams. So it gives you a little bit more confidence if you've been holding them for the insurance running back. Figured I'd mention that. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, yeah, you're starting both of them. I think Khalil Shakir you can start, probably more as a flex, maybe a wide receiver 3. Personally, I'm not starting Amari Cooper. I'm not starting Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman's limited, probably coming back. But yeah, not coming back to my lineup. And then Dalton Kincaid, he's been limited. He's been awful when he has played, and he's limited in practice right now. So yeah, not starting him either. Fire up the Bills defense. Yeah, against the Rams here. Rams have been kind of hot on offense, but this is the time to play them. They've been good regardless. So
I would start Amari Cooper. The Rams secondary does not scare me.
Yeah.
The Niners that's been a relative strength of the team. Has been the overall play of the backfield of the second level of defense. I would start Cooper. He's fully healthy. Again, yeah, was he bad last week? But it was a weather game. If anybody's going to suffer in those kind of conditions, it's going to be a guy who operates primarily, 10, 15, 20 yards down the field. So he is Amari Cooper, and he's healthy. So I'm not going to shy away from him. If you have better options, hey, bully for you.
Nick Westbrook-Akine?
Cooper, come on. He's
really?
Nick Westbrook. He's Nick Westbrook-Akine. Come on. It's Amari Cooper.
Yeah, but you said you might have started NWI over Deebo Samuel, so...
That's different. We're going to get to the Niners here in a second, but
yeah,
the Bills are trying to go win a ring.
Let's move on to the Niners. Chicago Bears traveling to the Bay to face off against the 49ers. 44-point over-under, Niners by 3.5. Caleb Williams, he's looked good since Shane Waldron's left. They're letting him throw. He's been at least good for fantasy. I think he was probably a 50% completion rate last week. He threw it a lot. But yeah, I think he's got a nice rushing baseline, throwing the ball a lot. He's a high quarterback 2, maybe even a low, not a low quarterback 1, but a high quarterback 2. Brock Purdy, we just kind of mentioned him coming off the snow game, looked awful, but besides that, been pretty good on the season. However, not another good. It's another bad matchup. He's facing the Bears. Bears second against quarterbacks. It's bad. Fade him if you can. I'm not trying to start Brock Purdy if possible.
Since week 5, which rookie quarterback has more top 8 finishes in fantasy, 4-point passing touchdowns? Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams?
Oh,
it's obviously a trick question.
Yeah. So it's Caleb. It's Caleb, right?
It is Caleb, 4-3. The difference between the Waldron era versus the Thomas Brown era has been palpable, and now with Eberflus out, there's a real chance that we see the Bears locker room just kind of relax and everybody just go out and play loose for the first time. I don't know why if that turns out to be the case, I don't know why. Like the Eberflus lost the locker room, but he clearly did, and he's gone now. So the Bears could come out and blow out the Niners. It would not super surprise me. It really wouldn't. Are the Niners packing it in?
It seems that way. It really
feels
seems that way. Yeah.
If they don't win this game, it's over. Obviously, they'll be 5-8. They'll be like 1-3 in the division, I think, or 0-3. I don't think they've won a divisional game.
I think they beat the Seahawks.
No, the Seahawks beat them in San Fran. Yeah, I mean they gave that game away at the end. So this is it. This is Custer's last stand for the 49ers. They gotta handle business here, and it just doesn't feel like they're gonna. They were never in that game against Buffalo. Obviously, Green Bay just dog walked them. Green Bay and Buffalo. I mean, those teams could both be in their conference championship games real easy in 6 weeks. But yeah, I mean, the 49ers, it's all on the line here, and it just feels like the fight's out. To me, they feel like the 2022 Rams, the defending Super Bowl champion Rams, where everything just completely fell apart. The entire offensive line got hurt. Everybody, like Kupp goes down midseason. It kind of feels like that, where they're like, well, it just didn't work out this year, and we'll run it back next year. That's how it feels right now. So we'll see.
Yeah, not pretty. Isaac Guerendo, we've kind of talked about him a ton. It wouldn't surprise us if he goes out there and gets 6 for 25, but it also wouldn't surprise us if he goes out there and gets, 17 for 115. I would certainly say that's on the table as well. So,
they need it. They need it because
they need it.
Nothing else in this offense is really clicking consistently, reliably here. So yeah, they need Guerendo to step up and show what he can do as an NFL running back. So here's your shot, kid.
They do. Roschon Johnson, backup running back for the Bears. He's missing practice with a concussion. DeAndre Swift is also not playing. Not practicing, rather, with a groin injury. It's Wednesday. If Swift's out there, sure, you can fire him up. He hasn't been great. But yeah, if both are out, I'm not starting anybody there for the Bears backfield. At wide receiver,
Travis Homer? You wouldn't start Travis Homer?
Nah, I wouldn't. Ex-Seahawk? No.
Is he still a Bear? I don't even know.
Right. DJ Moore, he's been on fire. I mean, ever since the change at coordinator and, frankly, kind of here now head coach. He's not practicing on Wednesday. Again, a lot of these guys aren't practicing on Wednesday, so when we say that, it's very much a grain of salt. I would expect them to play. It's nothing serious. But yeah, he's been on fire. Keenan Allen, he's a solid option here, especially with all teams on bye. Roma Dunze seems like the odd man out, along with Cole Kmet. Those two are the odd men out, in my opinion. If it's a Dunze week or a Kmet week, it wouldn't surprise me. They're talented players, but I'm gonna lean on some of the other guys there first.
For sure.
And we talked about Debo just a little bit. He is a lower end wide receiver 2, maybe a high end wide receiver 3. Always has upside. He's Debo Samuel. And then Juwan Jennings, I would start him over Debo. I think he's just a little bit more solidified.
That is, yeah. I mean, he's earned his piece of the pie there. He has really answered the call as best he could, with a 49ers team that again has succumbed to injuries as is kind of the 49ers tradition over the last several years.
Yeah.
But you made an excellent point with McCaffrey out. Makes all the sense in the world that we see a season high in rushing involvement, rushing attempts for Debo here. That gets him back on the radar for me as a guy that, all things being equal, you should probably start this week unless you are just beset with excellent alternative options. Very difficult to be in that kind of position, obviously, with all the buys that we have this week. If ever there were a time for Debo to get off the canvas, it's here. Yeah. And does he probably sprain his shoulder in the third quarter and leave early? Yeah, sure. But he could get you 2 touchdowns before that real easy.
He certainly could. George Kittle is a guy who can get you a ton of touchdowns as well. You're obviously starting him. We mentioned Cole Kmet. You're hoping for a touchdown. He's much like all the other tight ends. And then I think I really don't want to start either defense here. If I had to start one, I just really don't know. It just depends on what you think about the 49ers. Are they packing it in? If so, then maybe you start the Bears, and if not, then maybe you start the 49ers.
I see your note of if I had to choose one, I'd go with the Niners. I think for me, it's the Bears. You know, the Bears with the dismissal of Eberflus. Yeah. I'm a big believer in, like, in certain circumstances, firing the head coach can be a +5, to borrow some Dungeons and Dragons terminology, +5 spirit, +5 morale to the locker room. We could see that here, and the Bears defense has all the talent they could possibly need to be a top 10 fantasy defense. So if I had to go with one, I go with the Bears.
Yeah, much like the game, it's a pick 'em, so I don't mind you for that at all. Sunday Night Football, we're got the Chargers traveling to Kansas City to face the Chiefs, 43.5 point over/under. Chiefs by 4. So, giving the home team here the advantage. Herbert's in play, Mahomes is in play. Looking at the running back position, because I like both of those quarterbacks. Are you in the same boat?
I do. In fantasy, I'm more like Herbert. Mahomes, I mean, we know the situation with Mahomes. They're just trying to win by 2.
Yeah.
That's it. Are you more excited, just to deviate from fantasy for a second, are you more excited for this game or for Packers-Lions?
Packers-Lions.
That's fair. I'm more excited for Chargers-Chiefs.
Yeah.
I really am. The Lions-Packers, I mean, those are both, I think those are 2 of the 3 best teams in the NFC. Right now, that's how I feel. So, win or lose, I don't think that's going to change. The Chargers have a chance to get the chip off their shoulder here if they go in there and take care of business. I mean, this could really be the thing that propels them to a white-hot finish, wild card. They're going to win a wild card spot anyway. But yeah, this is a big game for that team as a team in terms of believing in what Jim Harbaugh is about, which is obviously milk and steak and wearing khakis and being a big weirdo, but also being rock solid, better than anybody in your fundamentals and in your Monday through Saturday install for the game. So, and I mean, the Chargers, they had them down. The Chargers were up 10-0 on the Chiefs in their house. Rashee Rice goes down with a knee injury that was heard around the world, and then they let that game get away. They need to go in there and take this one off the Chiefs. So this is a big game. Anyway, I like Herbert here. The Chargers are going away from the run game a little bit.
Because they don't have a run game. I'm not starting any running back there. I like Vidal. I like Gus Edwards, but it's
I didn't mention Vidal on the waiver wire rundown earlier, but Vidal is basically he's higher upside Sincere McCormick for me. Because look at the situation. The Chargers, at the end of the day, they still want to run the ball a fair amount, even if they're letting Justin Herbert cook a little bit more. And look at what's left. It's 29-year-old Gus Edwards with feet for hands. That's it. That's all that's in this guy's way.
Do you remember Jordan Howard?
Oh,
Oh my! That dude had bricks for hands. I remember off season after off season. Yeah, I got a jugs machine. I'm gonna be catching it all. And that's all you needed for him to be fantasy relevant. You're like, you got everything going for you on the ground.
He was huge his first year in Chicago, but yeah, it
Oh
fell apart fast.
Fell really fast. So was like Jeremy Langford, I think. Like everybody gets like 1 year there. It feels like.
Oh man!
But nevertheless, let's talk about a few other running backs. Isaiah Pacheco, you probably have to start him. You're not starting Kareem Hunt. I do not advise that whatsoever. He is officially the handcuff there for you for Pacheco. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I'd start Guerendo, who you probably picked up off waivers over Pacheco.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
they're close though. I mean, let's not presume to know too much. I mean,
right.
Pacheco could come out and have 16 touches. That would not completely blow our minds.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'd lean Guerendo just because the Chiefs don't need Pacheco to come in and carry all the mail right away. Can't start a Chargers running back? You feel that strongly about it?
Yeah, I'm not starting either one. I'd rather start a Raiders running back, and I don't want to start any of them.
Okay, fair.
So to give you some insight, yeah, I'm really not trying to start either one. I like Vidal, but he doesn't have the role just yet.
He could. I mean, kind of like with McCormick. He comes out and goes 1785 or something like that. Well, he's not going to get 17 carries, but he comes out and goes 1265 here.
Yeah.
That could be all she wrote. Vidal could run away with his backfield starting this week. It's like, yeah.
I have him in a redraft league. I'm hoping that happens. But yeah, I understand how wild it is. Yeah. You can do it on my bench, and then you have to start him in the fantasy playoffs. So that's the more wild, crazy thing. So yeah, it's certainly scary. DeAndre Hopkins coming off his second best game as a Chief. He's a low-end wide receiver 2 for me. Ladd McConkey, you should be starting him each and every single week. As long as he's healthy and out there, start him. He's been too hot. You're talking about Brian Thomas arguably being the best rookie wide receiver or second best. Ladd McConkey is up there too. Like he certainly should be.
Sure.
Xavier Worthy, he's in the next Nick Westbrook-Akine, the MVS tier for me.
I feel like it's the best ball guys' fault that Xavier Worthy was taken as high as he was in redraft.
Yeah.
Because yes, in best ball, Worthy's a great pick, where you don't have to set a lineup because you just get the points whenever he randomly scores 24 points. Yeah, a pox on your house if you start Worthy in fantasy this week in the fantasy playoffs, and he gives you no catches and 1 rush for 7 yards. I mean, that's on you.
Yeah. Moving on, Travis Kelce. Yeah, you're starting him obviously, and I talked about Will Disley a little bit. He burned you last week, but this is the Chiefs, and that's kind of their hole in the defense. So
I do want 3 full practices from Disley. Disley went in questionable last week.
He did.
He played hurt. He sucked. He hurt people last week. I want him to show us that he's fully healthy, and he might not be. I mean, he played hurt last week.
He was Will Diddley.
He was bum diddly last week. I want to see that he is fully healthy this week. I'm back on my heels on Disley because if you've got Ladd McConkey, how much do you really need what Will Disley was doing before? Now McConkey is banged up too, unfortunately. Yeah. So there's a lot of balls in the air. There's a lot of balls in the air here.
Officially, Will Disley will be Will Diddley for the show if he comes out and puts up another dud. We'll call him that from here forth. Chiefs defense, I think you could play him, but you could argue that you could play the Chargers defense. I'm probably not doing either one here, but Chiefs defense has been pretty good.
Yeah, I guess you could. I mean, I want to respect Justin Herbert more than that. To think like, yeah, sure. The Chiefs in a pinch. There's a lot of bye weeks.
There are a lot of bye weeks. Monday Night Football. We made it here. We got the Bengals traveling to Dallas, face Cowboys, 49.5
Thanks for hanging in there with us, folks. We appreciate you.
Bengals by 6 on the road against the Cowboys. Is that too much? Too little?
When was the last time the Bengals won a game? Yes, that's too much. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I know I'm a Cowboys fan, but golly.
That is true, but yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow has been absolutely on fire. Should be a top 5 quarterback here this week. He's a lock for it, in my opinion. And we talked about Cooper Rush briefly. We're like, Cooper Rush is a guy where, what was it, Aaron Rodgers or Cooper Rush was your question?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, I picked Cooper Rush or Aaron Rodgers, who I think been more detrimental, but Cooper Rush is a guy I think you could a super pinch. This is not a 1 quarterback league type of start.
No, super flex, super pinch. Yeah. Strictly. Yeah, I mean, I watched him. He's doing exactly what they've asked of him, and not one single bit more. I mean, again, I said a couple episodes ago, Cooper Rush knows he's Cooper Rush. He knows he has no business being in the NFL at all. Which of these things is not like the other, like the Sesame Street skit of yore? He knows he sucks, so he's like, I'm not going to try to be something I'm not. I'm just going to throw this little 8-yard hitch to CeeDee friggin' Lamb and let him go be CeeDee Lamb. But suddenly CeeDee Lamb is not kind of so CeeDee Lamb. I mean, it has been the numbers have more or less been there. I mean, certainly not what his 2023 is, not even close, but he's still been a wide receiver 1 overall. But he is dropping balls. Yeah. He is running. I'm not gonna say the wrong route, but reading the defense differently than the quarterback. Yeah, it happened a lot last week with Rush, but this has been a season-long problem for Lamb. It just doesn't seem like the preparation. I don't know. Obviously, he had the protracted holdout. That seems to have really had an effect on the caliber of his game. The effort level is there. I believe that he wants to do well and to help the team win and all of that. But no wide receiver have I seen either turf a ball that he should have caught or just run a different way than the quarterback was expecting him to, and the ball sail harmlessly to the ground more than CeeDee Lamb. It's not even close this year. So, I mean, whatever. CeeDee Lamb, you're against the Bengals. You're starting him. But don't be surprised if he comes out and gives you like 670, no touchdown. It would not surprise me at all.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
And Chase Brown, you're starting him. He's been phenomenal. As soon as he got the job, hasn't looked back. Rico Dowdle. I'm curious of where we kind of sit on him. Isaac Guerendo or Dowdle?
I believe in the 49ers run game way more. So yeah, Guerendo.
What about Chuba Hubbard? I forget where you were on that one, but
I was skittish and then I came back around. Hubbard against the Eagles is the thing.
Yeah.
I will lean Dowdle just because Dowdle has taken control of the backfield. Hubbard is starting to give a little bit away.
Yeah.
And it's the Eagles.
But that puts him in about flex territory, I would say. Very low end running back 2.
Dowdle is like the poster child for he's not good enough for you to just say, oh, he's my RB2. If you say, oh, Rico Dowdle's my RB2, people are going to be like, oh my God, your team is terrible.
Yeah.
But he's way better than a flex. So he's in like RB 2.5.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. If you're one of those weird leagues of starting 3 running backs, great running back 3 for you. They're out there.
Oh, I'm in an industry experts league where we start 2 running backs and 3 flex. My running backs are Barkley, Mixon, Pollard, Hubbard, Jonathan Taylor. I'm doing quite well. I'm doing quite well in this league.
I would say you're doing pretty fine. Jamar Chase, obviously, you're starting him. CeeDee Lamb, yeah. You hope he don't drop it no more. What was it? 3 drops last week? It was not.
At least 2 that were just clearly on him, and then a third one where it's like, come on, CD, you're making $48 million or whatever it is. Catch the ball.
Yeah. It's tough. And I think CeeDee Lamb, I could be mistaken, but I think he's a little banged up here on Wednesday practice. But expected should be good to go for week 14. So at least it's optimistic.
He'll go, but he's not 100%. He had a legit AC joint sprain just a couple weeks ago. He played the next week against the Giants or against whoever it was before the Giants, the Commanders. So he's not 100%, but he's gutting it out, which is commendable.
As much as you could. Jake Ferguson, he's trending upward for them. It's such a crapshoot because Luke Schoonmaker has been okay.
Totally.
Yeah, he's been totally okay, and I think he kind of solidified a role in the offense. So if it's work back in for Jake Ferguson, wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. I don't know if he just takes. It's still his job to lose, but It hasn't been performance. It's just been health.
I don't know how you plan to start Ferguson unless you have Schoonmaker, though, with it being Monday night, though. He has not cleared concussion protocol yet. I mean, yeah, they could announce that he has cleared it tomorrow, but short of that, if you don't have Schoonmaker, I don't think you can wait on Ferguson. It's a concussion. It's too dicey. You would have to go get yourself, not to beat dead horse, a Jawan Johnson, for example.
Yeah, that is the guy. Mike Gesicki.
The other guy, Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, Mike Gesicki, somebody you could flex if you are waiting on Ferguson, but you're hoping you get Mike Gesicki output, arguably. So, I mean, that's it. I don't know if he's that good of a tight end that you need to gamble all the way to Monday Night Football to kind of figure it out. You go with a Jawan Johnson.
If you have Ferguson, you don't have Schoonmaker.
Right.
You need a Monday night pivot. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not starting any defenses here, so that's it.
No, if you do that, you will lose. So don't do that.
You will get negative points. Start no defense instead of doing that.
Exactly. The Rex Grossman defense. Yes, exactly. All righty, folks. Well, thank you for grinding through this rundown of the Week 14 matchups, heading in to the regular season finale for the majority of fantasy leagues out there. Hopefully, we have helped you do what you need to do, put yourself in position to get the win that either carries you into the postseason, gets you that coveted first round bye, or whatever, just sends you into the postseason with those warm fuzzies in your heart. Come back and see us again next week. I'll have Colt, of course, and he'll have me. We'll be getting ready for the first round of the fantasy playoffs, week 15. The bye weeks are done. We're getting ready to go win a fantasy championship next week, Colt.
That's what we've been waiting for.
Are you with me?
I'm with you.
We'll be back with you next week. Have a good one. Go get some dubs.
This has been the Fantasy Index Podcast. For more great content, premium rankings, and cheat sheets, head over to fantasyindex.com.